Good evening again. This is Mr. M, working in Saudi 101 for Dummies. Today, this is part 2 of a 2-part video collection on tips for British nationals. I think that's most important for them. Reference Foreign Commonwealth Office and the British Embassy and Help Abroad. Okay. I'll finish off this. First of all, I have to say, I want to thank people for a really good response to this. And it's really buoyed up Richard. You know, he was a very, very disappointed guy, very down guy. He's had around 666 days on open prison remand. Yeah, but, you know, your support. Now, I've got to thank 3 people. I've got to thank Mehmet, who's going to write to his MP in North Devon or Cornwall. I've got to thank Nancy Nixon in London, who's going to write to her MP, and Yusuf Abdul in Cardiff. They've all contacted me on social media. Let's hope they do that. Let's hope, you know, that happens. Now, Richard, as you know, has been suffering terribly. And I've said in an earlier video about how pathetic the reply is if you get banged up in Saudi Arabia. Banged up means you can be inside a prison or on open detention like Richard is. So it's the same thing. However, I think the British Embassy, especially the regional manager in Cairo, thinks it's very funny. He patronizingly wrote to Richard recently, well, you're not in prison. No, but you can't leave the country. You're under house arrest. You can't work. Now, one of the basics of Islamic law is that your sponsor in Saudi Arabia has direct responsibility and is supposed to be your proponent before the courts. But what did Richard's employer do? Bye-bye, Richard. Once a case was taken, and you're going to probably wonder what this case was about. Well, it was about, in detail later, if you want to know, about someone Richard knew. They were together. It was, the man had a heart attack or a brain convulsion, and that was it. There was nobody else around. Richard didn't even know that he was a suspect. They interviewed him, of course, didn't caution him. He wanted to leave on a holiday 3 months after this happened. He was stopped, didn't know. And it was only 6 months afterwards that Richard found out that he wasn't a witness when he was called to the police for the first time or second, but that he was a suspect. Now, the British Embassy produced an information pack for British prisoners in Saudi in 2020. It came out from the Foreign Office, and you can Google it. Information pack for British prisoners in Saudi in 2020. Now, the woman that Richard deals with, who has been helpful, I don't think she's a British national, at the embassy in Riyadh, didn't even send Richard a copy of this. I had to send it to him. And the thing is, this is what the customer charter says in this document. We assess your needs promptly. They didn't do it for Richard. We make every effort to contact vulnerable customers within 24 hours. Richard is vulnerable, let me tell you that. Anybody who puts up with that, you know, no assistance from anyone. Only friends have kept him off the street. Number 3, we provide a rapid and highly trained response with specially trained staff. Blah, blah, blah. Next, we provide you with feedback. Richard has to chase and follow up. He's become a nuisance because he asks questions. Now, regarding British nationals in detention, our staff are there to support you. We aim to be sensitive. Now let's get the British Embassy straight in Saudi. They don't offer a passport. The British Embassy, the American, the Canadian, the Irish do. Yes, an emergency passport. Much better if you're in the UK. The passport service gives you a great service. You can turn around a passport application in 10 days. But woe betide if you've got to try to, you know, fill in all these forms and send them away. The embassy doesn't want anything to do with it. The British Embassy is only interested in business. That's it. Or bigwigs. Yeah, sure, I was in a working location. Gordon Brown came in, flew in and out, was paid some money. I was there when another chap came, a conservative. I'm not sure if his name was Willits. Please excuse me if I'm wrong. I happen to be reading a book about Decline and Fall by Evelyn Way. And just chit-chat with minders around. Yeah, they go from venue to venue. But, you know, when an old British expat, 40 years in the Middle East, ex-Royal Marine Commando officer, ex-Sultan of Oman Armed Forces officer, 40 years, an Arabist, speaks the language, knows a great deal of the traditions and culture, said to me when he saw the first video, Murray, that's my name, said, please advise people, don't go and live around Najran or Abha or maybe Jazan, because that could be an area with the ongoing problems. And also the northeast of the country near Bahrain. There's been some incidents near oil fields. But he wouldn't say that. Now, as I said, I know, as I mentioned earlier, about the bombers going from Abba Khamis Mashaid Airport, which you never hear or read about. But these can all influence you if you're living there, yeah, because you're in a so-called dangerous area. So I just want to say, I want to move on from this topic, except to say your responses have helped Richard. I've just spoken to him recently. Of course, there's no, there's no WhatsApp or anything. But I've spoken to him recently, and he's really been buoyed by the support we're getting, and I'm buoyed by it. But we're going to move on again. So in our next episode, Working in Saudi Arabia, 101 for Dummies, we'll forget the British Embassy. We've sort of covered them and British politicians. It smells a bit in here at the moment. And we're going to go back to the topic I said we'd next do, and that was how to spend your free time in Saudi Arabia. And I have a lot of suggestions for that, because a lot you can do. But like I said, don't break the law in Saudi, and Saudis have a right to their own laws and their own traditions. That's it. So thank you very much. Look forward to you seeing this part 2. Thank you very much. Bye.